Hello, and welcome to the BuildABot Studio First Steps tutorial. In this tutorial, I will be going over the BuildABot Studio interface, its basic commands and variables, and by the end of this tutorial, you should be able to create a very simple bot of your own. So let's get started. So first, let's go over the interface. As you can see, in the left-hand side, you have a web browser window. This will allow us to manipulate the HTML elements and data within this window. In this section, we have the scripting window. This is where you will be dragging and dropping your commands and HTML elements. And then in the far left pane, we have the commands and variables toolbox. So within the toolbox, what you'll notice is that there are two different kinds of objects. You have commands, which are written in plain English. For example, under Manage Account Details, we have a command that's called Create Account Details. And then we have variables, which in this case, under Get Account Details header, we have various variables that I will be showing you later. And you can tell the difference between variables and commands by the fact that variables have a little purple square next to them, and they also have a symbol such as a $sign for a string of text, or a pound sign for a number, or an exclamation point for a list. Now we'll be going over all of that later in more detail, but for now, just note that variables have the purple indicator next to them, whereas commands do not. So now let's go further into the toolbox. Under the browser commands header, we will find a list of commands that will aid us in making our scripts. For example, we have the clear cache command, the change browser command, etc. Under UI commands, we have the ability to manipulate the user interface and present the user of our bot with a pop-up message or an input box in case we need to take a value from the user and manipulate it in some way. Under variable commands, you can see that we can create a variable here. We can evaluate an expression, a mathematical expression. Here we can add a number to a variable, which, like I said, I will be getting into all of these commands in more detail. Make a list and so on. Flow commands, we have conditionals like create or check if a condition is true or false, else if, and check if, and so on. So that's the basic overview of the commands and the variables. And as you can see, there aren't that many commands, so you can create a lot of you can create a pretty complex scripts or bots with a very limited number of commands, and that's what the purpose of this tutorial is going to be. It's to show you how you will be able to do that. Now, in this first tutorial, we're going to be going to the BuildABot Studio practice area, and we're just going to show you just how simple it is to build a bot that fills in a form. Many times when you're automating the web, you're going to need to automatically fill in form fields, and what we're going to do here is very quickly show you how to do that. So in the BuildABot Studio practice area, you'll notice that there's a sample registration page. Now this is under buildabotnow.com/simple form. There's another form called advanced form that I'll be showing you in a minute after we're done with this one, but it is a standard form. It asks for your first name, your last name, username, password, and about me. Now with this form, you'll notice if we were to submit this with no content, just like on a real form, because remember, this is just a practice area. It doesn't actually create an account on this page. If we were to submit it just like on a real web page, it will be asking to ensure that we fill in all of the required form fields, and every single one of these are required. So this is a real test environment. That you're going to have real consequences if you don't fill it in correctly. So let's see. To get started, what we're going to do is, since our goal is to submit to this form, we'll go all the way up to our create account details command, and we're going to drag that over into the scripting area. Now you notice that a box pops up asking, stating that we want to create account details, and what it's going to do is create random account details. So what we'll do is press OK. What this is going to do, if it's run, is populate all of these variables, such as username, password, first name, full name, etc., with values. Currently, they have no values. They're just default variable names that we can use. What the create account details command does is it gives all of these under here, all the get account details, it gives all of these values. So if we were to, actually, let me show you one simple thing. Under Tools, let's go to Tools and click on Debugger. Now this is going to be a very helpful window. It's going to help you see what the value of your variables are. If we were to run this command by clicking on it and then either clicking Run, if we had a series of commands we wanted to run all of them in succession, or if we click Step, which will just run one command at a time. Since we only have one command, we can click either one, it doesn't matter. If we were to click Run, you'll notice that in the debugger window, all of these fields will pop up in here, and their associated values will pop up on the right hand side, and I'm going to show that to you right now. So let's click Run. Alright, so now, as you can see, the script has filled our first name as Aiden, our last name is Rivera, and so on, giving us a username, it's giving us an email, a full name, password, birthday, month, and year. What's important to know, though, is that although it gives you a email address, this is just a randomly created email address that's based on your username. It does not actually create an email account. You would have to do that on your own, or make a bot that does that on your own, which is very simple. But just know that this email address is not actually created, as in registered with an email address provider or email account provider. So now we have our debugger window. We can see all the values of the variables that we've created. We can assure that each one of these variables actually has the value that we want, and since these are random account details, it works just fine for us. So I can close this. So now we have our first command within our script, and the command creates random account details. Now we actually have to get those account details into our registration page, and that's pretty easy. What we would do is drag over the form field, and you notice how the type of HTML element it is automatically detected. The unique identifier for the element is automatically detected, and we can then input a value. So what we'll do in this case is go over to the corresponding variable. Since this form field asks for our first name, we will drag over the first name variable into this field and press OK. And if we were to run this, you'll notice that the name is populated. Then we can drag over the last name and do the same. Let's input that. Username. See, this is very, very simple. It's literally just drag and drop. Then we'll confirm the password. Okay, so now we're presented with an About Me section, and notice that we don't have a variable that corresponds with About Me. In this case, you can create your own variables, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So we will go down to Variable Commands and drag over Create Variable. And now notice what it asks for. It asks for you to create a variable named, and then you fill in the name of the variable. In this case, it's going to be about me. And this variable, the value of the variable is going to be a string of text. So we can leave this as it is. The other option is number. It's not a number, so we'll leave it as string of text. And then under and make it this value, it's going to have the value of our About Me, or what we want to be said in About Me. And what we want to be said is, hi, okay. So this just says, hi, I'm a marketing director of an internet company. So notice, once we pressed OK, under user-defined variables, our variable is now available to use. So what we can do is simply drag over the About Me form, and then go under user-defined variables, which now holds the value of hi, I am a marketing director at an internet company, and drag this over into the value field and press OK. So at this moment, I think what we should do is run this script from the beginning. Well, we're not going to run it from the complete beginning because we don't want to recreate the account details. It's not necessary. We'll run it from the second step on. So click Run, and you'll notice how all of the fields get put into the box. All right, so notice it has Aiden, Vera, blah, 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 has the password, and my About Me. Okay, all right. Let's go to the tools, and we can confirm that all of the values are correct. It has Aiden as the first name, Rivera is the last name, and so on. And notice that the variable that I defined is also in here. We can expand this to see the full content. Okay. All right, so in normal circumstances, it's not just enough to fill in the values. We actually have to submit the values also. So what we'll do is we'll drag over the button. Now notice that this button doesn't say that it's a button. It says that it's an input field, just as these fields said that they were input fields, and it's asking for a value. Now, if you know that it's a button, you can just press OK, because BuildABot Studio is going to be smart enough to know that it's a button and that it's not requiring any input, and it's going to click on that button. So what we'll do is press OK. And if we were to run this script from the point where we left off with it, which is right here, it's going to click on this button. Okay. And look what it says. Form submission successfully, completed successfully. All right. So there we go. You've just created your first spot. If you were following along, it's that simple. In the next tutorial, I will be showing you how to create a more advanced bot. We're going to go to the advanced form submission, which will cover CAPTCHAs, solving captchas, and a few more HTML elements. So, thank you for viewing this tutorial, and check out the next tutorial to learn more.